I just found myself listening to that, wondering if there's a penalty for unsportsmanlike conduct in politics. Kind of wishing there was one, because I don't think that some of those charges that Ted laid on Paul were fair. And I know I'm supposed to talk about that. But I don't think that's the way we as Democrats act, particularly here in District 20. We get beat up every day up there in Phoenix for being Democrats. And it's not fair that we come down here in our district and then get beat up with false charges for being a Democrat. So, that's all I have to say about that. I'll go back to my remarks. It is an honor to deliver a sermon here to good Democratic believers today. Now let us pray for a Wildcat victory over those sinners from Tempe. I love this place. I know it's just me, this church. I love Tucson. And I've delved into Tucson with such depth. Many of you know that I'm the artist who did those murals on Broadway just east of downtown with black and white photo murals. I did that project in 1997, 1999, and I had the opportunity of talking to so many Tucsonans of so many different types and hear their hopes and dreams and their memories of what great things once were and what great things are still to be. And it really left a huge mark on me and in terms of my admiration for the real strength of Tucson, which is the people of Tucson, who we are, what we believe in, and what our values are. And that's what I seek to represent up there in Phoenix, in distinctly unfriendly territory, is to fight for Tucson's values every single day. I've also been fighting for money for Tucson. You may have read this week, we have a huge celebration that we deserve to pat ourselves in the back for. We got $63 million from President Obama and Secretary LaHoo to complete the modern streetcar. As you also know, I started the group called Tucsonans for Sensible Transportation. And with many of you here working with me, we worked in the trenches for 3 lonely years when people thought we were just sort of crazy wackos talking about a toy train. But we fought against the power, and then when that didn't work, we went over and figured out a way of working with some of the power and finding out how we can create sustainable transportation improvements to make this town a better place. We kept working, we kept working, we kept working. We worked with people across party boundaries, across boundaries of people who previously used to fight against each other. And we got things done, and we came together as a community. And now we're going to build a streetcar that is a starter light rail system for a much lighter system, and we will have the livable community through sustainable transportation system that we want. And the entire country is looking at us. I was looking at the coverage of some of the other cities that didn't get the Tiger grants this past week. In Cincinnati, they're all fighting against each other saying, why didn't we get it? They wanted a streetcar as well. They said, well, obviously we understand why Tucson got it because they worked together. They worked hard, they did the right things, they followed all the steps, and they got it done. The rest of the country is looking at us as the city that can. That's the city I'm proud to represent. In the legislature, things are a little tough up there. You may have seen that little story about the Girl Scouts amendment that they put on. David Gowan, one of our favorite representatives from District 30, who doesn't look very good in a Boy Scout uniform, by the way, in case you were wore one to the House floor. He, by his own words, has been working for the past 6 months on a bill to declare Boy Scouts Day in Arizona on February 8th. Along the way, he also decided he wanted a bill that would give reduced price fishing licenses to Eagle Scouts. But no word to those Girl Scouts. Now, I got up there on the floor and I did an amendment to say, let's include the Girl Scouts. Because I've got 2 daughters. I remember how important it was when I caught my first fish. And in fact, 3 years ago, I brought both of my daughters to that same place, and they caught their first fish, and they loved it. It was an incredible experience. My vegetarian daughter even loved it, but she didn't clean the fish. She didn't enjoy the process of fishing. So why shouldn't we be able to open this reduced price fishing license up to girls too? What's wrong with that? I figured at least we get some Republicans on board. That was a pretty red meat speech I gave. Republicans would agree with that. What's wrong with fishing? We had a floor vote, a division on the floor, in which you had to stand up in favor against the amendment. Not a single Republican stood up to support that amendment. So they combined partisanship and sexism in the same vote. And that really sums up what's going down there. It doesn't matter what you stand up for. If you are a Democrat, they're going against you. And that is not to the benefit of our state. And that's a good reason why we are in trouble today. I am honored to serve as the House Democratic Policy Leader, so I'm serving in leadership right now, really bringing that Tucson voice up to the Phoenix Capitol. I've been developing key strategic decisions for our caucus to try to maximize our strength, even though we're the minority, and we've been very successful in that regard in getting our voice out. I've been working with Democratic incumbents and new candidates in swing districts all over the state. I've been particularly working with Ray Waters and Eric Meyer from District 11, District 20. They're in the same office complex as me. Ray Waters has no business being there because there's 20,000 more Republicans than Democrats in her district. But she did it, and we got to keep her back there. And those are the sort of things we have to work on, because we got to keep our people who are there now in the swing districts, and we've got to elect more people. Because the way to get out of here, all that's right, is to elect a Democratic governor in Terry Goddard and to elect a Democratic majority for the first time in 44 years. That's the only way we're getting out of here. I've been able to attend budget meetings, including some personally with the governor. I am not impressed, to say the least. And that's another good reason to like Terry Goddard as the governor. I've been working very hard to be able to fight for Tucson's values and to fight for education, fight for health care, and fight for everything that we hold dear here in Tucson. And it has been very difficult, because the majority does hold complete and total power. I've been trying to educate people along the way with my Farley report, and if you haven't signed up with it yet, every Tuesday I sit down after the day and I write for 2 hours and send you home a very long and longish email that tells you everything that's going on that day. If you go to friendsofarley.org, there's a place in the upper right-hand corner where you can put down your email and you can subscribe to it as well. Because I believe that a representative's first job is to represent what they see up there, to be the eyes and ears from constituents. Because an informed electorate is an electorate that elects Democrats. And that's what creates a state which actually works for all of us. That's the way it's going to be. And I hate to sound partisan like that, but the bottom line is these guys are so partisan who are in control, we will not get anywhere until that changes. Many of you know I was the first legislator in the country to introduce a bill to ban driving while texting. That bill has, when I first introduced it, the Star had a headline that says, Farley wasting his skills on futile texting bill. This last October, the Secretary of Transportation invited me to Washington, D.C. as one of 3 legislators in the country to talk about distracted driving at his distracted driving summit. And I have now become a national leader on that issue. And at the latest CBS News New York Times poll, the American people, 97% of them believe that we need a ban on driving while texting. Unfortunately, the other 3% are in the Arizona House of Representatives. So we'll see what we can do. I believe we have a good shot this year. I've been fighting for education to oppose expansion of the private school vouchers, those tax credits that are rife with fraud and that are bleeding us dry at this time. I've been fighting on that and leading the fight as all those bills have gone through my Ways and Means Committee. I've been fighting hard for health care. Healthcare Group is an organization that the Republicans in the legislature, particularly the Speaker, who is a health insurance agent, has been trying to get rid of for years. I've been fighting strongly because as a small business owner myself, I was a healthcare group member. And that when last year, the first budget bill showed up on my desk that had an elimination of healthcare group in the draft, I made some phone calls, and the next day, there was no elimination of healthcare group in the draft. So that way I was able to save 19,000 people's health care directly by working behind the scenes. I've been fighting very hard for solar energy jobs, working with Congresswoman Gabby Giffords. I have a solar schools bill in place, which would install solar panels in every public school in the state, a clean solar energy power plant in every neighborhood, which would then be able to sell back to the grid during the summer when kids aren't in school. What's wrong with that? Create jobs, create clean energy. We should lead the country in clean solar energy. I'm honored to serve you, and I want your vote to continue fighting for Tucson's values. I don't consider I'm running against any of these 4 wonderful brothers in the House of Reps. I'm honored and privileged to be able to serve with one of them as we elect them in November. It's a credit to District 28 that our choice is so difficult to fill the big shoes of our legendary Dave Bradley, to give him a hand. Thank you for your time and passion.